everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is going to be our RSU Student Resume Cover Letter Workshop for 2022. This is our second year to offer this workshop. This one we're doing a little bit differently. We are so grateful to have some incredible professionals here to give you guys some one-on-one feedback on your resume and some really unique tips for the industries that you're interested in working in. If you'll just flip to the next slide, Cecily. There we go. You may have to click on the PowerPoint itself. There we go.
Sorry.
So I wanted to introduce our speakers, and then each set of speakers will come up and give you those top 5 tips. And once we're through those top 5 tips and general recommendations, then we're going to do the breakout sessions. So I hope you guys will be able to stick with us during that. All right, go ahead and go to the next one. So one of our speakers today is Travis Jones. He is the CEO of Career Development Partners. And he'll be working with some of our the health field students and students who have just sort of general, they're want to do long term. And then we have Lawrence Richardson, LPC supervisor from Grand Lake Mental Health. He's going to be working with students who are interested in working in the mental health field. Next, we have Sarah Dial, if I'm saying that correctly. She's the Director of Talent Acquisition at TAT Technologies. She's going to be working with students who are interested in technology fields, as well as some of our MBA students. And then we have Kimberly Castaldi. She is from Owasso Public Schools. Kimberly, what's your title?
I'm assistant superintendent.
Okay, yeah, she's the assistant superintendent. So she's going to be able to give you the perspective for K through 12 education from the administrative side. And then if you could flip to the next slide, Cecily. There we go. There we go. Then we have Andrea Eccles. Saying that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. She is the benefits and online application coordinator for Owasso Public Schools. So she's seeing those teacher resumes and she understands what the application process is like. So she'll be able to answer a lot of your questions about that. Next, we have Caitlin Campbell. Nagar, is that how you pronounce it? Ngare, sorry. She's the talent development coordinator for its Claremore Industrial and Economic Development Association. So she has a lot of great business experience and working with a lot of the businesses in Claremore. So she'll be able to answer a lot of those questions. She will also be working with the students who are interested in the fields of business. Then we have Michelle Owens, myself, and Cecily Tubbs, who is behind the camera right now. We are RSU librarians here at Rogers State University, and we provide a variety of services right now for students, everything from resume and cover letter reviews, mock interviews, but we'll be able to give you some RSU resources. Next, we have, is Elizabeth Gordon here? Okay. Nancy Page is going to be talking about the resources that RSU Trio Student Support Services offers students in the way of career resources. And after our speakers are finished today, then we're going to, like I said, go into those breakout sessions. If you'll just give us a few minutes for that transition later, we'll be able to get started. This portion is being recorded. When we're done today, if you registered, you will receive an email with this PowerPoint presentation, a recording of the first part of the presentation, as well as a survey of the event to see if it was something that was useful to you, and a list of resources that are provided not only by RSU, but also externally. So, and then if you have any questions, you can always reply. Okay, so the future depends on what you do today. And the first speaker that we're going to have is Travis. Go ahead and click the next one.
All right, I have the easy part today because I'm just going to tell you what employers want from their employees. And so that's very important for you to know. Just to tell you a little of my background, I was in the temporary staffing business. The last year I was in that business, we billed our customers $22 million. That's a lot of temporaries. And this is something that I told them all the time, because when you go out on a temporary assignment, and that's not a bad thing, when you go out on an assignment, people are really dating you to see if they want you to be an employee for them. So I'm going to give you 5 simple tips that are so important for every employee that goes to the workplace. The first one is that you need to show up every day. Now that seems simple, doesn't it? But those that are employers know that many people don't show up every day. It's important for you to be there every day, first off. Secondly, you need to be there on time. You need to be on time because that's when the workforce before it starts. And you need to be there every day. You need to be on time. The third thing you need is you need a good attitude. And, you know, these are simple things, aren't they? Need a good attitude. Next thing you need to produce. And you need to produce. You need to give them work at doing your job. You need to show up every day. You need to get involved. And the last thing I want to tell you is that you need to give more value for the dollar that they pay you in wages. My father told me when I was a young man many years ago, says if they pay you 50 cents an hour, son, or $50 an hour, you work the same way. You work harder than they ever pay you. And I learned that my first job I ever got working in a grocery store, sacking groceries. I got paid 60 cents an hour. I know that was a long time ago. Doesn't happen that way today. But when I came home that first day, my dad said, how'd it go? And I said, Dad, I got $1 an hour worth of work. And that's what you have to do. You always have to give more value. Let me tell you how important it is. What I do today, I do career coaching. I help employees that are going through transition that are looking for employment. The people that come to my company are people that get laid off at their companies. How do they make that decision which employee to lay off? People that don't show up every day. The people that don't show up on time. People don't have a good attitude. They let them go. The people that don't produce. And the people that don't give them more value than they're getting paid in wages. And that's what employers want today. And if you want to be successful in the workplace today, you have to understand these 5 things. Very, very important. But let me talk to you about another thing. You see this right here? You need to learn these words are so important for you when you go into workplace. I'm a learner and I'm a contributor. That's what the employers are looking for. What have you learned lately? What have you learned that makes you valuable to the marketplace? That's how you develop a resume. What have you contributed? And in the session, when we get into that session, we're going to talk about what it means to contribute. Contribute means that I make a difference in a workplace. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the session, how important that is. You need to think that way. You need to write down every day you do something that makes a difference. It's important. How much time do I have?
Yeah, about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes, and then we're gonna go right into the
Right.
tips.
How much time do I have left?
No, 2 minutes?
I'll tell you a quick story. A real quick story. I had a group come in office one day. These guys were from the same company, and one of the things we asked them to do, tell me something you're really proud of you did at work. Can you think of something you did? Well, they're all sitting in the room, and this first guy spoke up and he said, I worked there for 17 years, never missed a day of work. You see anything wrong with that? Attitude? You can see it in his face, you can see it in his voice inflections. And I said to him, they were kind of dumb to let you go, I bet then. And he started cussing the customer that he worked for that paid his check. I said, did they pay you to show up to work? I said, well, I'm just kidding. What did you do to earn your check? And he could not think of anything. The other guys in the room, when it came their turn, they could share. Here's a situation I faced, here's an action I took, here was the result. Here's what happened in our sessions. Every session we ask that question, what did you contribute? What did you give? What is an accomplishment that you're really proud of? He came back to the next session, and it's so fun. He came back to the session, he sat up when it was his turn. Tell me something you're really proud of you did at work. He raised up his chair and he started talking with his hand. And he says, here's a situation I faced, here's the action I took, and here were his results. And these other guys helped me with that. And as soon as he finished, I said, and I worked there for 17 years, never missed a day of work. That sunk into this guy's head. Now, let me tell you how I know that. This company had a callback, and they called these guys back. They had a project, they needed to have them come back. He came back to work. The HR guy was a friend of mine. He called me up and he said, Travis, do you remember the guy that went through your program about 6 months ago? He said, we hired him back, and he's a different guy. By the way, he gets out of his car in the morning and walks into our building. He says he is a contributor. You are either a consumer or a contributor in the workplace, and you have to say, when I go into the workplace, when I write a resume, when I do anything in that workplace, I'm there to learn and I'm there to contribute every single day. That's what employers are looking for. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lawrence Richardson, and I am one of the recruiters at Grand Lake Mental Health Center.
And here to talk more specifically about the mental health industry, or maybe just community public health programs in general. The first thing that I want you to consider is the research the organization or the company that you want to work for. If I have to ask, or when I do ask, tell me about what you know about Grand Lake Mental Health Center. And then you tell me, well, I don't really know. I just saw this job pop up on Indeed. Fantastic. That tells me that you have initiative. But then it also tells me that you're just looking for a job. And quite frankly, if you're just looking for a job, we don't want you. We want people invested in a career. So first start with any kind of industry research. And I recognize that we have a variety of recruiters from different industries. A school district will vary itself from another school district. So look more specifically into what the organization or the district serves. For mental health, and I would also want to echo probably for every industry here, emphasize the relational aspects of your work experience. I have many individuals with excellent customer service experience, and they come to me and say, well, my Taco Mayo experience doesn't do anything when I'm trying to help people. And I said, well, have you ever gotten a taco thrown at you and you had to figure out how to resolve that conflict? I sure have. I've paid my dues in fast food as well. And so with that said, you have to have that approach of how can I take the experience that I have and apply it specifically to the job or the organization that I'm looking for. And then another aspect that I recommend is describe how your degree or experience tailor to the actual job that you're looking for and specific to mental health. I recognize that we take many, many courses in social psychology, maybe positive psychology, things I can't remember right now because it's been a long time since I graduated. But with that said, find ways that you can tailor your research and textbook information and how you plan on applying that into working directly with individuals. And then fourthly, utilizing language that says that you understand what it means to be in a community mental health setting. And so really looking into what does community mental health mean? We have an about section on our website that actually talks about what community mental health means. And so we recognize that mental health is a large industry, no different from education, technology, etc. But the most important thing is, what is it specifically that the organization is doing in the industry itself? And then lastly, actually, to echo our first presenter, is how do you plan on contributing to our clients' welfare and well-being? Because ultimately, that's what I want to see. I love seeing all your accomplishments. I love seeing that you presented at a national or a state conference. I love that you developed your own research project, maybe wrote a thesis. But I want to know, how do you plan on taking that knowledge and then facilitating it in a usable, applicable way for the people that we serve? And again, my name is Lawrence Richardson, and I truly appreciate the time that you took to spend to listen with me today. And there will be a breakout session. And for those that are in person, I have some goodies. I have an iPad or a phone stand. So we are moving more towards virtual interviews. And who all knows when you set your phone on the wall and next thing you know, someone is looking at the ceiling. And so that we have the iPad holders or tablet holders to assist you in your virtual interviews as well. Again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You guys will have to excuse me, my sinuses are draining, so if I cough, it's just sinuses. I'm Sarah Dial, I work for TAT Technologies, but I'm also here on behalf of TARA, which is the Tulsa Area Human Resource Association. I work on the board for them. So my job is to cover a couple different aspects, I suppose. But to piggyback off of what Lawrence and Travis just said, all of those, yes. So employers that are actually doing the hiring, I am going to ask if you research the company and what you know. I am going to ask what specifically you're looking for and how that contributes to the job for which, understanding the job. So a lot of what they said, take all of that, plus whatever you want from mine. So for IT specific roles, I was asked to touch on a couple of different specific subjects. I actually come from a background of staffing as well. And so I've worked on a number of different roles in lots of different industries. IT being one of them, I actually worked for an IT company as well. And so I understand some of those caveats that work within IT. When you're looking at a resume as an employer, we want to see a snapshot in a very clear, concise, simple way, right? So we want to be able to see right off the bat what coding and programming languages you have experience in. Is it C++, HTML, Python, whatever the case may be. You want to list, it's really, really important in most IT specific roles. You're not only working with your internal software programs, your hardware, software, whatever the case may be, cybersecurity, but you're also working with your end users, you're working with your customers, right? And so you want to be able to show both your technical and soft skills. You want to be able to show them all of the actual technical capabilities that you have from the computer programming side of things, but you also want to be able to show that you can communicate to that end user. You can have that customer service piece of being able to articulate what you're trying to do. So don't think that, okay, I'm going for IT and it's very program specific, I need to keep it technical. No, we want to see both sides of the spectrum. Technologies, softwares. In today's day and age, he mentioned we're going virtual, right? There's so many different programs, and I will tell you, it does not matter really what kind of CRM or ERP system or anything like that, because then a lot of them run off a very, I guess, similar baselines, right? And many companies customize each of it. Say Salesforce, for instance, it's a platform for sales-driven type of positions, but it's customizable for so many different companies. So we want to be able to see all the different programs that you've used so that we can tell, okay, this one we know is similar to here. So you want to be able to actually show all of the different programs that you've used and how well you know them. Don't put something on there if you don't actually know it. Because you took one course during the 4-year degree that you did, and you touched it, you opened the application and you closed it, don't put it on your resume, because we're gonna call you, we're gonna ask you about it, because that's what we use, and you're not gonna be able to answer. Keywords need to speak to the position for which you're actually applying for, right? So make sure that you are reading the job description. Make sure you understand exactly what they're looking for. What do they do? What is their specific niche? And how is it that your experience and what you're looking for plays into that? Adjust your resume before you actually upload it so that it's speaking to that specific role, that specific company. And don't embellish. The last thing you want to do is embellish on IT, because guess what? It's a pretty easy one to tell if you're lying. So, and I will say that pretty much for any position, but specifically something like this, you might want to actually know what you're talking about if you're putting it on your resume. So that's it.
Again, I'm Kim Cristaldi, Assistant Superintendent of Owasso Schools. So I kind of echo everything that people have said before, specific to our to the education field. Make sure that your resume and cover letter kind of match your grade level. Elementary will tend to have things that are much more kind of cute and different for younger ages, whereas if you're a high school teacher, you're going to want to reflect more of that age level that you're working with. So that's really important. Also, again, like others have said, do your research on your districts. One of the things that we ask almost every applicant is, why did you choose Owasso Public Schools? What set us apart from everybody else that you want to come here? Because we want to know that you're dedicated to our school district and that you're wanting to stay for the long haul. Next, use data. I know IT, probably a whole lot of data is used on their resumes or want to see on there. We do too. What have you done to show that you are the best in your field? So an example would be, 96% of my students pass their 3rd grade reading test. I mean, that's a great thing to show off and show that you've done. Include 2 forms of contact information. Cannot tell you how many times we get information and we're like, try to call or try to email and there's no answer. So please make sure you have two and make sure that they're accurate, because that's important too. Also, a lot of times in our field, people will put things like their photo, or they'll use an unprofessional email address. One of the things we teach in even our elementary computer classes is how to create a professional email address. We want to make sure that it is, I can't think of one right now, but there's a whole lot that are not really professional. Make sure it's professional. And don't put personal information like your date of birth or your social security number or anything like that, just basic information. So that's
You guys both want to.
I know Sarah's been introduced before, but I am Caitlin Ngare, and I am the Talent Development Coordinator here for Claremore Industrial and Economic Development Authority. Trying. So with that, I'm a local resource for you guys, as well as RSU and all the career services department, the library, all the wonderful resources that RSU has. I'm also a resource within the community. With talent development, I provide multiple resources for people throughout, and I don't just focus on the industries here within Claremore. I am throughout Rogers County. We're funded by the Board of County Commissioners to do talent development throughout Rogers County. So that's not very well known, but that is what I do. And so we offer many resources to both students, employees, adult employees that are looking for places to work, but then also to RSU professionals, K through 12 professionals, to do industry tours. If there are specific businesses you guys want to go in and shadow for a day, internships, externships for teachers as well, mock interviews for not only students, but just general applicants within the community. I can go through and do resume editing, provide feedback, some of those things that people don't necessarily know. We host a job board for the community on our website. And so those are some of the resources we have. And I don't know that that's been very well communicated in the past, but we are a resource for you guys as well. So we'll jump into the professional business top 5 tips. So you want to lead
I can.
or
It's up to you.
okay, how about we alternate?
Go for it.
Okay, so the first one here is to avoid objective statements. With that, I know LinkedIn has been really big about having objective statements on your resumes, on your LinkedIn profile. And to be quite frank, that is just repeating what is expected to be on your cover letter. And so something that has happened most recently is people have kind of dropped off the cover letter concept and gone straight to just doing a 1-page resume. Please still include a cover letter. And whenever you're doing an objective statement, most people are going to put, to obtain this job, I have this credential for this job. And most of that is just duplicated within your resume as far as your education and the job title that you're applying for.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, objective statements, oftentimes you'll get it, especially in entry level when you're coming straight out of college or you're just going into really the workforce, is saying, hey, I want a job as a engineer, but you're having a difficult time kind of getting your foot in the door. And so you're applying to a wider array of positions. Well, now in your objective statement, it says I want to be an engineer. Well, why am I going to hire you for a network analyst, right? Like, so it's telling the wrong story if you're not modifying your resume, you're not setting the right, picture, because they're not going to hire you because you're going to end up leaving as soon as you get that engineering opportunity. Instead, you can do a summary statement. So if you do want to put something out there, you can put a professional summary, which allows you to put like basically just a blurb on the top of your resume that explains in a couple sentences your background and how it pertains to the industry for which you're looking to go into. Do not list professional references. I'm going to tell you this is for a few different reasons, right? One, as you start to get further along in your career, your resume tends to grow, right? We're not in the age where somebody goes to work and they're at the same company for 27 years. It's not the case. And so I can't tell you how many resumes I've gotten that are 5, 10, 15 pages long because everyone is including all of their work history. Well, if you're individuals that are coming out of college, most likely you're gonna have 1 to 2 pages. If you put reference information, the most simplistic, you're taking up valuable landscape on your resume. 2, you should have a document that's specifically tailored to professional references. You should have a document that is ready and able to be sent at any point in time when people are asking for them, that you send along with it. Or if you want to provide it up front, feel free to do so. I do not suggest that because you want to control your references as well. You want to make sure they're telling the right story and they're giving the right background for you. So if someone is asking for professional references, you then go to your references and make sure that they're still okay with you using them as a reference. You also tell them about the position in the company for which you are applying to so that they can showcase your skills to mean the most in that reference check for which position you're seeking to be employed with.
Yeah, I agree. Along with that, whenever you are approaching your references, if you are applying to multiple positions, I know fresh out of college, you may be applying to 5 or 6 even. And so just clearing with those references saying, hey, can I use you as a reference for multiple applications? You don't necessarily have to send them every job description and every resume you custom tailor to each of those positions, but give them a general outline of what type of position you're looking for. If you're applying for an office manager, just let them know office manager positions within, different businesses within this area. But then, you may be applying for executive assistant positions, administrative assistant positions. Well, those two really go hand in hand together. So you can kind of give them general, job description bullet points that are included in each of those, for an executive assistant and a administrative assistant, there'll be a lot of scheduling, there'll be event planning, some of that stuff. And so you can let them know that you're applying to positions along this line, and they can kind of custom tailor their responses to that. Also, if there is for any reason something that you think may cause a flag with who you're applying to, say you don't have an internship that you've had throughout college or significant volunteer experience, especially in an office setting or something like that, you may come across as green to some of the businesses that you're applying to. And so bringing that up with your references, especially if it's just a one-off application, bring that up with them saying, here's what I've done for this organization. I've done agendas and minutes, ran board meetings, some of that stuff. And then letting that reference be your story so that it addresses some of those red flags that the employers will see. And then there's also ensuring nothing on your resume that can be used to discriminate or disqualify you prematurely. So that goes hand in hand with that as well. I don't have too much to talk on that.
I've got a lot to talk on that, but we're running out of time, so I'm not going to. But basically, she mentioned date of birth. Don't put your age, don't put your date of birth.
Oh, yes.
Don't put the date that you graduated from high school or college. They don't need to know what year you graduated, just that you graduated. I would like to live in the wonderful world of people don't discriminate, but we all know they do. And as someone who has been in HR, especially on the staffing side, I can't tell you how many of my clients have been like, well, I really want like an 18-year-old male. Okay, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't just hear that, right? The reality is like discrimination happens, right? Don't give it to them. If you are on the seasoned is what HR people will call it. If you've been working for a long time, right? Don't put 20 years of history on there unless you've been at that company for 20 years. Put your 7 to 10 years, depending on your experience. And if you need to go beyond 7 years to show relevant experience, then do so, right? Don't give them a reason to discriminate before they have a chance to talk to you. So that's what that is.
I will also add to that, do not place your addresses on your resumes either, because the first thing they're going to do is look it up. And so especially living on campus, living in places, chalet year run, something like that, it's a temporary situation for you. That should not impact your ability to.
And it's actually illegal for them to ask you where you live. Yes, by the way. So address, email address, phone number. It's the only contact information that should ever be on your resume, with the exception of like a professional network such as LinkedIn. You can put your LinkedIn profile link on there. You can put if you're in a specific like education or mental health, if you're on a specific network board for that, you can put that link.
But make sure those are up to date as well.
Yes. And make sure that they're actually complete, you know, that they don't just have your name and your email address and one job. That's not gonna sell you to the employer. Don't use fancy resume builders. I can't stand fancy resume builders. I will tell you, as someone who looks at hundreds of applications on a daily basis, do not use fancy resume builders. Simple. I want it in Times format, calligraphy. I don't really care what font it is, as long as it's a general professional font that is all consistent, right? If you want to bold out the titles, great, bold out every single title. If you want it to be slightly larger, then every single title better be slightly larger. It needs to be uniformed and professional. It needs to speak very simplistic, show me your experience and show me how it pertains to my company and the position for which you're applying. I will be looking at your resume for all of about 30 seconds, probably less, before I've made my decision on whether I want to look further. Don't give me a reason to not look. If you've got all this different font and pictures and all that stuff, I'm probably not going to look very long, unless you're a graphic design person. Then I'm probably gonna look. Lastly,
Understand the positions you're applying for. Make sure your resume is tailored to that. So with that, generally with our larger employers, your resume is, sometimes they'll have an application and a resume. Do both very well, very detailed. Don't think that they're gonna look at the resume so you don't need to fill out the application right, because these are placed in filters. And so it's going to pull out keywords that are in your resume. So if you do not tailor your resume to that specific position, you know, I keep using the board meeting agenda minutes, some of those things. You know, if you're experienced with Google Suite, Access, Excel, trying to think of some more advanced ones. If you're in communications, Canva, some of those other things.
it's just really looking at the job description and pulling the keywords, print out the job description, highlight keywords, and make sure those keywords are in your resume before you submit it.
Because you will be matched based on compatibility, and that's how they'll filter out initially, and then they'll ask those people.
Most small companies are not going to do that. I'll just let you know. It's usually your large companies like your One Gas and, you know, education systems. I don't know if they do, but certain large companies are definitely going to use AI filters. So to get past that first one, yeah.
There's some overlap here, but
This one, and I guess, yeah. This is talking specifically to manufacturing and light industrial industries. So we won't touch on the ones that have already been touched on, but experience matters, especially in manufacturing and industrial type environments. You want to talk about specifics, machines and materials. This really doesn't differ from mental health or education or IT. You want to talk on the specific things that actually matter to that industry, right? Make sure they're in your your resume at some point. Keep non-relevant information off the resume. I can't tell you how many times in manufacturing and those types of industries, they're including their hobbies, because these are blue collar workers. And so they don't have formal education. A lot of times they barely graduated high school. They went to a tech school. And so they're having their marriage, you know, status and all that stuff, keep personal non-relevant information off of there. Unless it helps you. For instance, if you're going for like a metalworking or something like engineering and it works specifically with welding, and you grew up as a farmhand and you did a lot of metal work and engine work and so forth, that actually rates directly to what you're going to. So that would be information that would avoid using cliche vocabulary. One of my biggest pet peeves, I will tell you right now, I will like cross it out on resumes I have in person and show it to a candidate, even if I'm not moving them forward, be like, you're not a good fit for this one, but here, fix this. And then apply it to more jobs. Don't use Indeed or prescriptive descriptions to fill in the duties and responsibilities. Actually take the time to fill out your own bullet points. I can tell when it came from an Indeed job description. So actually do what you did, put them in the bullet points. Explain what you've actually done at that job. Or if you don't really have a lot of work history, you're coming straight out of college, talk about your coursework, talk about the specific projects you worked on, things like that. And then keep it simple. Again, all of the same things we talked about. Production-based hiring managers specifically, they're not reading your resumes. They're looking for keywords. And that actually goes for a lot of us that are looking at hundreds of resumes. Keep it simple.
We want to know what kind of training you've had, if that's OSHA 10, if you've been forklift certified, those keywords are what we're going after. As far as industrial resumes, we're looking for those certifications, those specific machines, tools that you've used in the past, but then also looking just to make sure you've had a consistent work history.
Okay, Travis, you're up again.
Well. What if I told you I thought you needed a 10-page resume? I think you do, everyone in this room, but it is for you and you alone. It's a master resume that writes down. If you go through this properly, you will look at everything you can think of that you've learned that makes you valuable to the marketplace. Put it in that master resume. Put every accomplishment that you can think of, something that you made a difference, you put a dollar or a number, a percentage, increase, decrease number with it. So that reminds you of who you are and the value that you bring to the workplace. Put every job in that master resume that you've ever had, all the way back as far as you can remember. What did you learn in that job? What did you accomplish? What did you do something that was really special? That's where your help. I'll tell you that's what we do with executives. When they come into our office and go through outplacement programs, they go back through and work through their history of everything they've ever done. It gives them great confidence. It gives them ability to communicate. It allows them to answer questions better in an interview because they're speaking of their experience and the application of how it applies to that job. So how many have ever heard of a movie theater? Yes, we all have. haven't we?
Netflix, right?
Yes, that's one of those things that, yes, for a while we didn't get to go to them, but if you've gone lately, you know that they're going to have 5 to 7 what? Previews. How long do those previews last? They last about 2 minutes. You're sitting next to someone at the theater and you say one of 3 things about that preview. What are they?
Ooh, I want to see that.
I want to see that one for sure.
Hope the trailer's not better than the movie.
I'm probably not going to see it then. I don't want to see that one. And I'll see it if it's Netflix or it's free, right? I will tell you that with your resume, you only have statistics, even though she said a minute she may look at someone. Statistics will tell you that people make a decision. I want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. Let's see what else is out there within 7 to 10 seconds. That's why you need to make sure you understand how to write a resume that speaks to the need of the people that you're applying for. Every resume is a custom piece. If you have a master one that's 10 pages long, you can pull out things out of there in accomplishments that may fit some of those requirements that you have. Only you know those. I can't create those for you. That's why that exercise is so good. It really gives you confidence to put together an excellent resume that speaks to them. So it's very, very important. The next thing you need to do, you need to study that job description. When we take people through our programs, we tell them, look at the job description and spend an hour to 2 hours just looking at the resume, the job description that tells you, how do I fit? Can I do what they're asking me to do? Understand it completely. And then you begin, once you understand the job description thoroughly, then you begin to craft your resume. Every resume is a custom piece. It needs to fit the job that you're applying for if you want to get seen. Remember, how many seconds do you have before someone makes a decision, I want to talk to you or I don't? 7 to 10 seconds. It's worth that extra couple hours to really study through, learn the job description, learn everything about it you can. Now, someone mentioned about the keywords in there. Keywords is very important. Anybody ever heard of jobscan.com? Yes, they offer that at your school. You can use that for free for 3 times, and then you have to have a new email address. Here's how it works.
We don't offer it, but yeah, you can use your student email address to get 3 free scans.
You get 3 on your email address. Okay, we offer that to all our people who go through our program because we want them to do it to every single job that they apply for. Download the job description, download the resume, hit scan, and if you're not 70% a fit, then you need to think back. What in my 10-page resume have I done that makes me a fit? What are the words that help me to fit that job? It's important for you to think about how can you fit what they're looking for. How long do you have before someone makes a decision whether they're going to talk to you when you give them a resume?
7 to 10 seconds.
7 to 10 seconds. So it's worth the effort to go in and use some of these tools, jobscan.com. You can use it for free. So make sure that when you're applying for a job in a company that you have an advocate within that company. It's very important. I will tell you that we train our people how to go through a networking process where they learn about companies and they find somebody that works in that company that knows the company well, that they can call and ask some questions. Tell me a little bit about your company. We have this happen all the time. The employee was in EHS, never been in the field she was going into, and she got a reference in this company for a person, and this person says, let me tell you what they look for here. Here's the kind of things that do. Here's the things that are important to us. Here's what will make a difference in your interview. And then he submitted her resume. He actually took it to the hiring source. Now, I know HR doesn't always like that, right? But that's what happens. They'll get in there and then the HR, maybe the hiring source will say, okay, the process is you have to go through, submit online, and this, that, and another. But let me tell you what, and they'll give you suggestions too, if they like what they see. And they're going to help you get in there, but you need to understand that you need an advocate on the inside many times. Submitting online is the worst way to get a job. It is the worst. If you're counting on getting a job through submitting online, and I know I say that, and some guy will go through our program and say, hey, I submitted online, I got a job. So it happens, but only 3% of the time. Let's talk about cover letters for just a second. Let me tell
I
you,
will actually, to boot on that, the company I work for now was the only company that I did not submit online. It was through a referral. So strengthens that argument.
it does. Cover letters. I deal with a lot of HR people, and I had a whole room of them in my office one day, a whole mass of them. And I said to them, I said, raise your hand if you think cover letters are important. How many think raise their hand? Half, less than, right at half. How many of you think they're not important? The other half. I will tell you what, whether they like it or not, you need to create one, a resume, a cover letter, even if you don't submit it, even if they don't want one. Why? Because it helps you to communicate why you're fit for that job. You need to understand it so that when you get in the interview, you can speak it. So write one out the best you can. Have someone review it for you. Look at it. Now, if they want a resume, you're going to be in great shape because you've thought through the process. A lot of people don't like them. A lot of people do. Here's what's more important, I believe. You need to have a follow-up letter, like a cover letter, that you write to them. Say, in the interview process, I really appreciate this, this, and this. And I feel like that after our discussion that I would be a great fit for this position because of this. Because and you could say something you had not said in the interview. Thank you so much for your time. A follow-up cover letter or letter to them is more important to me than a cover letter on the front side. But I think the cover letter on the front side is very important for you to do. Okay, let's see if there's
In
anything
what
else.
time frame, Travis, should they be sending those
The
follow-up?
follow-up letter, I usually have them do that within a week or less. And really think through them, write it out just like you would the others. In the session, we're going to talk about how to network and how important it is. Because networking, your next job is going to come from somebody that you probably know right now. And your circle of influence says, hey, I'm going to get you in the door. I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you some things to help you get in there. So networking is one of the most important things to do. But I'm done with it.
I was just gonna jump right into the. Cecily, I don't know if you want to come up here.
Oh, sure.
So we're from Marshall Libraries, and we just wanted to show you quickly some of the things that we can offer to RSU students that are through RSU. The three main things is we have a career resource guide. It's very thorough. It has everything from information about creating a resume, depending on the level of your career, depending on the industry that you're interested in. There's a lot of tips on there for that. As you can see, there's information on preparing yourself for the current job market. There's a lot of great links that you added on there, Cecily, that are government websites. So if you want to see trends, what fields are growing, to give you an idea of what sort of skills you should be training for when you're in college, or if you're interested in a particular industry, that is a really good place to look. Again, we've got resume, cover letters, and references. We have tips on how to write cover letters, as well as the different types of reference lists that you should have, which again are, as they've said, separate documents. These are all separate documents. I just want to reinforce that. And then we also have a section on interviewing, which of course now we are doing much more with virtual interviewing. So we have articles on that with best tips for that. Questions, if you have questions about what kind of questions they're going to ask you, we have tips on that as well. Developing a professional online presence. It's not enough for you to just be a human being living out in the world now and then just go and get a job. You don't get to be invisible unless you work for the NSA or you want to work for the NSA, and then maybe you don't have a professional online presence. Go ahead.
Do you have a database of questions that they should familiarize themselves with?
I do have a list. Yeah, there's several different articles on there that do talk about the most common questions. But my recommendation is always to Google the industry and the job that you're applying for to find out what sort of industry specific questions you need to be prepared for, and make sure that you always have examples. So there is also an article under that the Prepare Yourself for the Current Job Market about how you can prepare yourself as a student who's just graduated. So we've got videos, we've got books and ebooks, we've got articles, we have actual templates, we have tutorials, and then we also have some information about how to read a job posting and understanding what ATS systems are, understanding what an elevator pitch is, so that you can present yourself in the best light whenever you meet someone. And then of course we have the contact information. The next thing we've got on there, Cecily, you want to talk about that appointment?
Oh, yeah, we have an online form on the library website that you can meet with us. We do resume reviews and mock interviews. We do a lot of that with the internship classes, but you can also just come in when you're, whenever, and you want us to do that. And we take the time one-on-one to do those things.
Yeah, it gives you the opportunity to submit it. We can review it in advance and then make recommendations for you. And then we have curated ebook and audiobook collections for specifically on career resources that are easily accessible through our apps. And, just to kind of, if you already have a career, which a lot of people already do have a career, we have grown-ups going to school. We're all grown-ups, where this is our second or third job going to school to improve our lives. So they provide a lot of encouragement, a lot of good tips, and kind of help you stay focused, those kinds of things. So we have some really great career resource guides as well. Of course, there is the Career Services RSU webpage, and you're welcome to take a look at that. It is actually linked, as you can see, in our career resources guide there on the front. But if you have additional questions, you can contact us directly. We do have a chat box. It's available 24/7, and you can ask us those kinds of questions. So that's primarily the resources that we offer. We have been working with students, I don't know, quite a while now. We work, very heavily with the internship classes. Some of you may be here or tuned in because some faculty members said, you should go to this. Or you may have had a resume review appointment with me and I said, you should really go to this. Because some faculty member made you do it. So, but there's a reason for that. We have quite a bit of, I would say between the two of us, quite a bit of experience doing this now. Specifically working with career services departments at universities, as well as hiring and some firing. So that's us. Would you like to come up real quick? We'll flip to the next slide.
I am Nancy Page, and Student Support Services is a Department of Education grant that we get here at RSU. TRIO program, if you've heard that word. Our main focus is low-income, first-generation students with disabilities, but we will help anybody who walk in our doors. We're downstairs, prep hall. We have all kinds of services very similar to what she talked about. The library will review your resume, your cover letter, will help you with interview questions and things like that. We also will read your papers if you need somebody to go over them to proofread and to help you with that. We have a lot of services that we do with our veterans. And I get a monthly magazine, recruitmilitary.com, and I have several of these back here if you guys would like one, but they have great articles on building your resume, virtual career fairs, that's now a thing, steps for success, career growth, how to dress for an interview. All these kinds of things are available to you through us. And we also are in the process of purchasing a job shadowing software, which is a great program. We just reviewed it, and it's where you will find out anything you need to know about a particular type of job, salary range, where the availability of those jobs, career assessment, educational requirements, and then they have videos and modules of actually going into workplaces and seeing what the job entails. So for a lot of our undecided students who don't know what they want to do, right, this is a great resource tool that we're going to have available. And again, we're Student Support Services downstairs, Prep Hall, room 105, and we welcome you anytime.
Okay, so this is just a quick thank you to everybody. And if students have further questions, they can contact us here. A reminder to check their email. We're just about to break into breakout sessions.